Okay, I'm going to do some short Necron Cheese videos, as I see it. Things that people haven't been talking about, but sure looks like the Necrons really got a boost in, and they didn't really need a huge boost. If you look at the new codex, it's arguably the most powerful codex, I think, in 7th edition. We'll see, but they're pretty powerful. Well, to start with, things that people haven't noticed. Anriker, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, he has this power called Mind in the Machine, and you know, in the 5th edition, when the Codex first came out, you would stick him in a catacomb command barge and fly him around the table and take over people's vehicles and shoot with them. And then 7th edition came out, and he couldn't do that anymore. Couldn't be in his own catacomb command barge. But this has changed now. Now, as the way the rule is written, you can put him in a Night Scythe. Nothing stops you from putting him in a Night Scythe. He's a viable passenger, and it does not say in Mind of the Machine that he has to have line of sight to use this power. It just says he has to be within 12 inches. So if he's in a transport, he's within 12 inches. You can also put him in a Ghost Arc. You could buy a Ghost Arc for him as a fast attack, or you could just get all the warriors out and stick him in it. But I think the Night Scythe is the way to go. It gives him a utility that you would not have previously seen. Nemeser Zandrik, I'm not really sure this is cheese. I think everyone is aware that he is probably the best overall warlord for the Necrons because he's dirt cheap, and he basically can pick his warlord trait starting on round 2, which means at the start of your turn, you know which cards you have, for example. You know that you're going to be able to reroll D3s. You want to get victory points for free because he's already in a combat with some sort of sergeant, so you're just going to take the one that gives him legendary fighter. There's all sorts of potential ways to abuse that power, so that seems to be one of the best warlords in the Codex. So just to understand exactly what this means, he can do things like take target priority, which basically gives every unit within 12 inches of him preferred enemy. They reroll, well, to hit. Reroll ones to hit. He can use things like, let's see, he's near a bunch of wraiths. He could give them reroll ones to hit with coordinated assault. He could take legendary fighter. I mentioned that already. He can't use the outflank ability, but he could get things like feel no pain. I'm not sure it would really help the Necrons unless there's a way to boost it. But one of the best abilities with personal traits is immovable object. So let's say at the beginning of the game you're going to get hit, someone wants to take out your warlord and he's on the table for some reason. If he's with a unit, they go to ground, he can take on round 2, he can take a movable object and they instantaneously stand up because they're fearless. He would get things like tactical traits. He gives his units move through cover, which the Necrons probably get because they're going to get it from their formations. But if they don't, get move through cover and stealth and ruins. He gives you a few other ones in this, but a lot of them aren't going to be useful. So he gives you, the only other one that's really useful is Strategic Genius. He gives you a +1 to your initiative roll. He could also take the opposite of that, which is give your opponent a -1 to their reserve rolls. So he's probably the best warlord, and he's got such tactical use because of the ability to use these traits at will. You just choose them, but you can only do it once a game per trait. And so related to those warlord traits, if you take a Triarch Stalker and have chosen the warlord trait that gives you rerolling ones to hit when shooting, it basically makes all Necron shooting twin length ballistic skill 5, which is the same as ballistic skill 10, as long as they're within range of that Triarch Stalker and within the range of the warlord trait. So a huge boost. Now it does force you to kind of have guys clumped up, but if you think about what you do with that, rerolling ones to hit when shooting and having a +1 to your ballistic skill, making almost everything ballistic skill 5, and rerolling ones is an awesome boost. Alright, something that this is not a boost. The Night Scythe has invasion beams, and as they are written, which is kind of how it implied to be as intended, I think, also, you cannot re-embark in a Night Scythe. So you get out of it, but you can't get back in. Now that might get FAQ'd, but currently it doesn't say you can re-embark, just disembark. So using your Night Scythe to pick guys up and put them down has no longer an alternative option in the game. Other thing to think about with Ghost Arcs, or with the Ghost Arc, one thing to think about is it is now a fast attack choice, which means you could purchase them without having to take them as dedicated transports, and if you do that, then you can put Necron characters in it. You can't put Immortals or anything like that, but you could put Necron characters in a Ghost Arc, so if you want to shuttle them around on the board, it's an option. Alright, one thing that it seems like people haven't noticed with the Tomb Blades, maybe they have, but I haven't seen any videos on it, is that if you take the Shadow Loom, it gives you a +1 to your cover saves, which means if you have Stealth or Shrouded, they stack with this. And this is important because it doesn't give the Tomb Blade Stealth, it just gives them a +1, which would mean if it was night fighting, when they jink they get a 2-up save, or any time that there's Shrouding for some reason, they get a 2-up save. So it's a pretty important rule to note that they don't have Stealth, that they just have a +1 to their save, which means it's a big bonus at any time that there's night fighting. And I think that was done as intended, since Necrons can create night fighting with a few items or with a Lord of War. One other feature to note on the Night Scythe is that you can put jetpack infantry in it. So you could put a Destroyer Lord or something like that in the Night Scythe if you really wanted to get him way downfield early in the game. It's an option, assuming the Night Scythe comes in, but even with their reduced mobility, if you wanted to get one all the way across the board and drop them into a pack of Wraiths, he can use the invasion beam to do that. He just takes up extra spaces because he's jetpack infantry. Alright, one of the most sort of horrific rules, I think, in terms of affecting other armies, is the Doom Scythe has a Strength 10 blast that it shoots with Skyfire. Now, if you look at the rules for flying monstrous creatures, they can't be hit by blasts and templates that are being shot by someone that's snap firing, but unlike flying vehicles, they can be hit by a blast or template that has Skyfire. So when the Doom Scythe is on the board and it shoots at, say, a Tyranid, Harpy, or Crone, it instantly kills them, being Strength 10. And so Flying Demon Princes instantly kills them. And it does a pretty serious damage. I mean, Strength 10 could potentially instantly kill any of the other flying monstrous creatures if you hit them with Enfeeble or something like that. So which is a hard combo to mix, but the Doom Scythe's Strength 10 Skyfire shot kills flying monstrous creatures, and flying monstrous creatures like Tyranid Hive Tyrants are some of the more powerful units in the game. Alright, here's a hilarious rule. The Obelisk has a gravity pulse, and it causes all flyers, skimmers, jet bikes, flying monstrous creatures to take dangerous terrain tests. Well, if they're zooming or swooping. So I guess that doesn't affect the skimmers, but a monstrous creature always has move through cover, so it's a dumb rule. Gravity Pulse has no effect on them because they can always take dangerous terrain tests because they always pass them.